Everybody, Mega 31 back here for FSI DFS. We have a really nice 12-game slate for Tuesday, the 10th of May. There's a couple games at 6:35, but we're back to the normal start time. Both FanDuel and DK are starting at the same time. There's kind of a weird doubleheader earlier in the day, too, and I was looking at it, and it's Detroit at Oakland and then Oakland at Detroit. And I was trying to figure out, like, are they starting out at the West Coast and then hopping on a Sonic jet to play it in Detroit? But they're making up a doubleheader. It must have been rained out in Oakland. So Oakland in Detroit wears the home uniforms and is the home team for the first half, and then the second half, Detroit's the home team there. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Probably just on a showdown slate and really not really affecting the main ones. But yesterday was kind of a weird day because on DK, Woodruff is my top pitcher, as many of us did. Rendon was obviously to play. Cincinnati somehow put up 10 runs, which was just remarkable with just the lineup that they're throwing out there. So that's just amazing against a good starting pitcher and a decent bullpen usually, but just shows you anything baseball can happen. But I guess the moral of the story is that some of you reached out and said, hey, FanDuel is a little bit different. What can we do here? Because I usually just cover DK in the video. So I looked at it and I answered back and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to pay down on pitching. And I did play Blackburn, and he did really, really well. And I had the right people in the Philly stack on there and the right stacks with it. And it was a pretty good night on FanDuel. DK took a little bit of a loss, but you know what? We're back at it with a really nice slate tonight, a really nice options for pitching and hitting. So let's get into it. Gonna go game to get a game. We'll be a little bit longer today than normal video. We've been like anywhere from like 5 to 12 minutes with just these simpler slate breakdowns, but with this slate, I think I want to go a little bit more in depth just to let you know what your options are. So weather's not an issue, maybe a little bit of rain late in the game in Cleveland and the White Sox, but I think that they get it in. I think starting pitching is going to be safe because I think they get through enough of the game before it's really much of a factor. But then again, like I said, check back. If you watched this video earlier today, check back like a half an hour before the lock, because we try to post any comments in the comment section, if anything, if the game's going to be rained out or if we're like completely off of somebody that we're on before because of situational changes or things like that. So and as always, you can hit us up with questions in the chat or in the comment section below, or you can hit me up at McGrewer31 on Twitter, which many of you have already, and I enjoy interacting with you there. So anyways, on to the breakdown. First game up, we have Toronto Blue Jays and New York Yankees. Kikuchi just faced the Yankees, actually did well. I think he had like 7 strikeouts, kind of held him at bay, which I was kind of like surprised about. Severino's not bad either. I think both of them are decent, like mid-range options here. Kikuchi is definitely cheaper at 6.6. So I think they're usable in the context of the slate, but I don't think you have to go here. And I think Toronto, I think Severino's decent. So, I mean, you can always play them as a GPP. And I know I don't have them on the list here. So I think actually if I'm ranking them here, I'm gonna put the Mets here. And then I think if you want to go the Yankees or Toronto and in a GPP stack, that's perfectly fine to do that there. But that's pretty much all I'm looking at this game. The total's under 7. You got good bullpens here. You got decent starting pitcher. Kikuchi has struggled at times, and any lefty against a righty Yankee lineup is usually juicy, which I think the ironic thing is I think the only one that had a home run off him is lefty Gallo, which is just kind of strange without the split advantage. And Gallo really hasn't hit anybody, especially lefties. So it's just the bizarre things that can happen in baseball. So I'm just going to move on from that game. Next up is New York Mets and Washington Nationals. Carrasco, he's good. But again, like there's so many people in this price range that in the medium price range, I think I really want to pay up for like Nola in there, but like Severino, Kluber, Carrasco would all kind of blend together. And I think, you know, if you're making GPP lines, just build your lineup. And then if you need an SP1 or SP2, just find somebody that fits into your price range and just throw it out there. So Carrasco, I'm fine with. Like Washington sometimes has some pop in their lineup. Of course, you know, Bell and Soto are always dangerous, but the rest of the lineup really, especially against right-handed pitching, isn't anything super special. Corbin on the other side, yes, he did well at Coors last time out and really shocked a lot of people, but I really don't think he's great here, and I really like some of the right-handed bats, even though the wind's blowing in a little bit here. I think I'm going to probably look at like maybe a small stack of like Canna, Lindor, Alfonso. JD Davis and Alonso actually have 4 home runs and are hitting really, really well against Corbin in a pretty decent sample size for both of them. So I really like the BVP if you're a fan of that. Some of these right-handed bats against Corbin. So that's where I think I'm going. Not going to go full stack. I think I'll take some like one-offs there. Carrasco, if he fits in, Corbin's fade. Red Sox and Atlanta. At Atlanta, Whitlock stays in the rotation. Like he took Houck's spot when he couldn't go to Toronto because of didn't have his COVID vaccination. But Whitlock has been solid. But against this Braves team, I don't think I really want to tempt fate here. And even though the Red Sox have been down, Kyle Wright's price, I don't get it. He's 10K. He's just below Verlander. I have him as a fade. I can play him if you want to. In a GPP, I think definitely potentially, but like I can't play him as the top price pitcher in FanDuel over Justin Verlander. That makes no sense whatsoever. Something wrong with the algorithm. And even though he's had a decent start to the season, I don't think I can play him at 10K and DK either. So again, a GPP, or if you want to, like, if you think Verlander suffers the same fate as Woodruff, is like the hot zone pitcher and somehow gets roughed up by a team that should never rough him up because he's playing a Minnesota team that has Correa's probably out of lineup and Buxton's probably out of lineup. So it's like a dream matchup there too. But if for some reason you think that Kyle Wright's a pivot and you're right with the ownership that's probably going to be on him tonight, that you could win a lot of money there. So just keep that in consideration. Like I said, probably a fade, not because of the talent, not because of the matchup, just more the price tag on that one. Bat wise, I'm not interested in anybody really at this game. Both totals are below 4. So and now we're to that game. So it's Houston and the Twins. You have Verlander against going to be a watered down Minnesota lineup. Buxton is questionable. Correa is going to be out for a while. So you have Sanchez, who strikes out a lot against right-handed pitching, and a bunch of other Ks in this lineup. Joe Ryan is actually decent on the other side too, but he's a little pricey too at 9.4. If he was 8.4, I'd love this spot for him. But then again, Houston doesn't strike out a ton. There's some good plate discipline there. They're getting healthy in their lineup also. Looks like it's gonna be like 76 degrees there in Minnesota, wind blowing across the field 5 miles per hour, but it's going to be a better hitting environment than like when it was like a couple weeks ago when it was like 49 degrees in Minnesota and the wind was blowing in. So I think you can play Ryan in cash, but I think he'd be my 4th favorite pitcher out of all the ones that are available above 9K tonight. Houston bats, I think you can always stack them potentially. Minnesota, they'd be a leverage stack, but unless you think that they catch fire like Cincinnati and just shock the world like last night, that's the only case I would play them. Next, you have probably the best hitting environment in baseball. It's going to be 89 to 90 degrees. There's going to be a heat wave across the nation, and most of the cities that are affected by it like have domes where they could like open or close, so we don't know what's going to be like that. But St. Louis is going to be 90 degrees today. The wind's going to be blowing out 8 to 10 miles per hour, so this is a great hitting environment. We don't know who's pitching for St. Louis. I've seen Wainwright, I've seen Rondon or Rodon for them, so I'm not positive, but still I think we do know it's Kyle Bradish, who had a rough first start. He's going to be a very good pitcher down the road, but I think it's going to be a while. And if there's such a big slate, like if it's a smaller slate at 6-1 against St. Louis, which all right-handed lineup, and if the weather was like not as hot, I would say, yeah, maybe we could try it. But you have Wade Miley at 4K and the pitcher for Colorado at 5K. They're much less. If you're taking a chance on something, I think I'd take a chance on them over Bradish. St. Louis pitcher, I'm not really interested in. The Orioles aren't great, but I think in just this hitting environment, they could be a very, very sneaky cheap stack. So St. Louis, I think, is going to be the best stack on the slate against Bradish. I'm going to try to get 5 of them in, if not at least 4 in my cash lineup. And then Baltimore, I think definitely you can make a very cheap stack to supplement, or maybe they could be your top overall stack, and then you can take some one-offs of big bats in good situations and capitalize there. So next up, we have the Kansas City Royals and the Texas Rangers. Brad Keller's had a good start to the season. it's going to be hot in Texas. I don't know if it's going to be open and help the ball fly in the ballpark. We'll have to see there. Perez in Texas is not interested in. I think KC would also make a nice cheap stack there. I really like seeing like Bobby Witt leading off, moving back up higher up in the lineup. That really seems to work pretty well there for us. And he's still pretty cheap at 3-4. So kind of like some places there. Salvador Perez against the lefty. Like there's some really nice right-handed bats here that you could stack up as supplement, or just do a 5-man stack and then again take some one-offs or pay up for 2 pitchers tonight. There's a couple options there. Texas on the other side, like I said, Brad Keller's been decent. But I think, they could also make a cheap stack. They'd be probably the lowest one, because I think Keller makes a good SP2 candidate in some context. So I don't think I'll have too much Texas tonight. Next up, we have, and actually, it looks like the forecast is improving since I first did my research. It looks like it's not till 11 o'clock tonight that the rain's going to start coming for this Cleveland and White Sox game. So we might be perfectly fine. Wind blowing over in a little bit. Quantrill is not a good pitcher, so I'm not interested in him. Giolito on the other side, I think he'd be my second favorite pitcher. And if you need to save a couple dollars off of Verlander, it's fine. If you want to stack Kansas City or Baltimore and some of these guys in a really good situation, then go Verlander and Giolito. And I think that you'll have a really good opportunity for that to go on with that. So sorry for a little technical glitch there. So yeah, so we're talking about the Giolito in a really good matchup there for the White Sox. Really like the White Sox as a really good stack here today. They're getting Moncada back as a switch hitter. And Quantrill has been pretty much a neutral splits pitcher, if not worse, to the right-hand side, giving up power and home runs, and has actually less Ks to right-handed hitters too. So Cleveland, not really interested in, but I think they make a really good leverage stack because they'll probably be very low owned, and Kwan and Ramirez and Naylor are always good pitchers also. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Angels. Corey Kluber, who's had a very solid season here. Angels, they have pretty powerful lineup. Taylor Ward, I think he had hamstring tightness or some kind of injury, so he might not be in the lineup, so it helps a little bit. Are some Ks in this lineup, so I'm okay playing Kluber. Like I say, not one of my favorite pitchers, but if, again, it might be a case where you build your lineup, and if you end up like right on 8-5 and he fits in, then go ahead and play him. Or there might be some builds where you pick like 2 of the mid-range guys in like a GPP, and instead of going like a high-end guy and then taking a punt. So Detmer on the other side, not super interested in. Really, I think one of my favorite GPP stacks is going to be the Tampa Bay tonight, especially some of the right-handers here. Arizona, I believe he had a home run yesterday. Zunino hits well as a catcher against lefties, and he's down to 3.7. He's not priced up at like 4, almost 5K as some of like the premier catchers are out there. Diaz leading off isn't bad. Franco, so even like Harold Ramirez is pretty cheap outfielder at under 4K. So I like that stack a lot too. The Angels, I think they're just too pricey tonight. Kluber's a good pitcher. You don't really have many split advantage. The top 2 hitters in here are 6K, and if you throw in some of the other guys, they're just too expensive to stack, and it's not like a dream matchup. So I have them as a leverage stack just because of the price, and I think the ownership's going to be super, super low on them. But again, you're probably going to have to pay down on a couple of pitchers, or play some like cheap min-price bats just to get like even 4 guys in here. It's very hard to work with them. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Phillies and the Seattle Mariners. We have Aaron Nola and Robbie Ray. Aaron Nola is having a solid season, so I think definitely in the mid-range, just under 9K at 8-9 is a really good matchup tonight. Seattle has been struggling after a fast start. Robbie Ray on the other side just doesn't look right this year. I just don't know. Like, I think he's okay, but I think I'm going to fade him. 8-3 is fine, but there's so many other people in that price range that I'd rather play between Kluber and Severino and Carrasco and Wood, that I would take over these bats. But then again, I think he could be decent. So the totals are really low in this one. Like I said, I really like Nola here, but I don't think I'm really in this big of a slate looking at any of these bats. I mean, if you're a believer that Robbie Ray just isn't right and you want to stack Philly, that's fine. But like, I would prefer like Tampa Bay or Houston or the Mets, Yankees, Toronto over them. I think they would be like way down, like probably somewhere from like 10 to 15 if I was ranking stacks today. So you can't play everybody on these slates unless you're 150 maxing. So usually I'm looking at like probably like a 20 max, and I don't even think that they would fit in there tonight. Next up, we have some pitchers that just have returned and made some late starts. We have Wade Miley, who's making, I think it's a debut at 4K. And then we have Mike Clevenger, who's had like at least one start here. And I really like Clevenger. I think a lot of people are going to be off him and don't think that he's really going to go that deep. They're worried he's coming back Tommy John. Then he had a knee injury. But I really like this matchup against the Cubs. He's only 6'9", and I think that he's going to be my favorite SP2 for this slate. Wade Miley on the other side, I kind of fear for him against this Padre lineup. I mean, they still have Tatis, but they still can be decent at times. Like, Wade Miley isn't a bad pitcher, but I don't know like if he's got rust or anything. So I think a GPP makes a great punt at 4K. In cash, I would not touch him. I think Clevenger I'd favor on the other side. Cubs, if you think Clevenger will have some problems, could be a leverage stack because I think he might be a popular SP2. The Padres on the other side, I think, are one of my top 4 stacks against Wade Miley. I do like St. Louis, the White Sox, and San Francisco a little bit better, but I think they would fall in 4th place. Next up, we have the Marlins and the Diamondbacks. We have Luzardo against Bumgarner. Bumgarner was a great matchup last time, only lasted an inning and got thrown out because they did the sticky check after and he mouthed off and they threw him out. So I don't even know what to expect, but the Marlins, I think, definitely can get to him. Like, the Marlins are a great team, but they have a 4.53 total, and I think they actually make a decent like cheap stack because once you get past Jazz, and Jazz might even play because sometimes when they're facing a lefty, he doesn't. Between like Aguilar and Soler and Cooper and Aviris Garcia, even Rojas at like 2.4. There's a lot of cheap bats here. So I think, again, if you want to pay up for like 2 pitchers, maybe even throw Luzardo in there as one of the pitchers, like go Luzardo, Verlander, do a Marlin stack, and then fill in with one-offs or another cheap stack there. Or maybe you can get like a couple of those Angels in there that we were talking about. That doesn't make sense to do a full stack. A lot of potential there. Arizona on the other side, I think I played them a lot recently because they're cheap, but their lefties are pretty much neutralized by Luzardo. He's been really good against them. And the righty power bats that they throw out there, besides Lupo, who has always really hit left-handed pitching, well, I just don't think that it's that good of a lineup here. So I'm really not out. Like, I don't have them anywhere on my board here because I just don't think this is the slate to play Arizona. And then finally, we have Colorado and San Francisco. Colorado only has a 2.88 total against Alex Woods. Like, Alex Woods is a good pitcher, but I think that's a little bit low. So if you're betting it, I think I'd bet the over on Colorado. I think that they'll probably score more than one to that. Woods is good, but he doesn't really have like a lot of K upside. So I don't have it on the board. Like, sometimes I like to put the Colorado righties against a lefty because they've shown a lot of power there, even outside of Coors Field. But really, Connor Joe, I think, is the only like fly ball hitter. The rest are more ground ball hitters, and that plays into Woods pretty good here. So I think Woods at 8-1, and just because of the K upside, I think he'd probably be one of the lower 8K pitchers. Again, like I still put him above Ray, but I think if you're looking at like around the Severino, Kluber, Carrasco, Woods level, I think, you know, we're looking at probably like Kluber, then Carrasco, then Severino, then Woods. I'd probably rank them in that order. San Francisco, I really do like the bats here. Sensatella is not a bad pitcher, and I think, you know, you can play him as a cheap one too. If you don't trust Miley, it's only $1,000 more. I think he'll get you what you need. I'd hesitate playing him in cash. I'd really like to go Clevenger there, but if you need the extra dollars, I think I'm okay with it, because San Francisco, I mean, they have some really good lefties here, but I think he can do enough against the righties at least a couple of times through the rotation just to pay off his 5K price tag. So let's look at some breakdowns and then we'll get you out of here on your day. So like I said, Verlander's my top pitcher. I'm going to put him with Clevenger as my ASP2. And then here I'm going to go with St. Louis. So I'm going to play Goldsmith, Edmonds, probably Arenado, and Yespes, who's been decent, batting 5th, outfielder from pretty cheap. Then I'll have to figure out if I really, who I want to go for my 5th one. I think I'm going to go really cheap here at catcher. And then I think I'm going to try to fill in with the San Francisco left-handed bats. So I think I can probably get like Crawford and Peterson, and I might not be able to get I might have to go like Lamont Wade or something, because I don't think I'll be able to get another higher priced guy in there. Maybe I'll find a one-off for that, but I think that's where I'm looking at my cash build, is I'm going to go St. Louis and then try to get San Francisco. Maybe I'll throw Bader in there in outfield instead of going for another San Francisco bat, or I'll just have to see what the lineup comes out and see if I can, those are the 4 that I'm really targeting. If one of them is missing, then, you know, for some reason, if Goldie sits, and I'll obviously put Belton as lefty for my San Francisco stack. I'll have to decide from there. So pretty much JV, Clevenger, looking at St. Louis as the primary stack, and then San Francisco. I wish Baltimore matched up a little bit better. I'd throw some of them in there because, like I said, good hitting environment. Like I said, if Goldsmith's out and I can get like Mancini or one of their first basemen in the stack and make it work and make it make sense, then I might just stack the game for bats and then go with those 2 pitchers. GPP, I like Luzardo. And then probably go down to like Senzatella or Miley here. Then I'm stacking the White Sox. So I definitely want like Anderson and Luis Roberts. Grandal, I'll have to make a decision on, do I want to play him or do I go for a cheap catcher there? Then Abreu, but I think I'd rather like just maybe one off Alonso there. And the same thing, if Makata's not in, then I like that 2-man stack for the Mets. Maybe even throw Kana in an outfield. He's pretty cheap. The righty against Corbin, the lefty. So I kind of like that. So definitely going to try to get what White Sox in I can, and then supplement with Mets. With pitchers too, if you wanted to go this way and drop down from Abreu to Alonso, it gives you a little bit more. And I think Davis. So if you're going like with those Mets in there and then not as many White Sox, then you can go like 2 mid-range pitchers and get like a Kluber, Woods, or a Carrasco, you know, a couple of those mid-range guys if you don't feel like you want to go down and punt. Keller works really well in this build also as your SP2 if you want to if you play Brady, you're probably going to have to go with either Miley or Sensatella. But if you do drop down to Alonso just at first base, you can still play Moncada at third. And then I believe you can get Keller like at your SP2 there. So nice slate, lots of options. It's finally good to have a big slate with some pitching options where it doesn't seem like everybody's going to be on the same chalk build. Lots of ways to go. Very little concerns as it comes to weather. So really looking forward tonight, and hopefully we all can make some money on this. So Appreciate you watching. I'm McGruler31. If I said throughout this video, throw some comments below, even if it's not about the slate, if it's about anything baseball related throughout the day. We'll see what we can do to try to help you. Or hit me up at McGruler31 on Twitter. I had 2 of you yesterday. Just try to private message me, and as soon as I see it, I'll answer it, and we'll see what we can do to try to help you out. Can't approve like full lineups for you or anything like that, but we can help you with like teams and construction. And if you have a question of like 2 versus 2 or something like that, we definitely do that. Just want to try to be fair and abide by the DK rules and policies. So appreciate you watching. So please give us a like, share with your friends so they can see the work we're doing each day to try to give out fantasy advice information to the general public to help you guys become better players and just break down slates. I know sometimes it takes me a couple hours to do this, and if it saves you a couple hours of time and you can spend it with your friends and family and doing other things you enjoy, then it was well worth it. So enjoy doing this. I appreciate you watching so much. So give us a like, subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out, and we will see you next time.